We're recording and we are live. Good to see you today, my EOS Podcast friends. I've got a wonderful show lined up for you today. I've got Alex from Azarus. We're going to talk about video games, how Azarus is actually integrating with Twitch right now. We got some real exciting things going on, and just EOS in general. You know how the podcast goes. So, Alex, welcome to the show. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Brandon. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, I'm Alex. I'm the French engineer of Azarus. In a nutshell, basically, Azarus is a game challenge platform, so it allows any player to define how they want to play the games they already play, set the stakes, the rewards, and just go out there, have fun on their own terms.
That's killer. I mean, the idea that players are going to be able to change the stakes, or people watching the games will be able to change the stakes for the players and start playing with the incentives is such a fun idea. And so we're definitely going to dig deep into that and exactly what you guys are doing. To start out the show, what is the most interesting thing going on generally in EOS for you right now?
I think it's really about the resources. It's phenomenal to see that the chain has driven so much usage that now people start having trouble, like there are not enough resources. So between the vCPU, VRAM, and all those new ideas from the Liquid apps, there are so many people are looking at option. IBC is still not there, and everybody's looking at it. It's quite really interesting to see that a year ago when the mainnet launched, we were like 10,000 TPS. Oh, we're never going to get that. It's huge, and now here we are, and we're using it. It's like every single internet, like every single system that was ever born. You think that you have like the next volume that's going to be killer and way over dimensioned, but it's not. People will use it, and apps will use it, and it's quite phenomenal. So I'm really. That's really what keeps us up at night, because it's one of our problems. We have, like, sidechain, we are doing 5,000 transactions per second on burst. So obviously we'd love to be on the mainnet. It's not such and we have a real-time component that makes it really hard for us. So we're working with Block One and how that can be sorry, how we could actually be working on the mainnet. What was the best way to do it? But those questions are really super interesting, and I don't know, there's no good answer right now, but definitely you can see that everybody is paying a ton of attention and trying new things and looking at options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon, and just to see it happen in EOS too. Like whenever there's this jump in computing power, it just is instantly filled up by people. Can always use more of it, even if it seems like there's so much that you wouldn't be able to use it. It's always used. Yeah, and so it's cool. You guys are clearly pushing the limits. What do you think about the different scaling solutions with Liquid apps and with IBC, and where are those right now? Which one do you think is more useful? Do you think we're going to lean towards one, or kind of use all of them together? Or do you think Block One maybe will sometime come up with a solution so we don't need those? Like, what's your
So my best case scenario, and again, I'm an engineer. I feel like we're so early on in the blockchain space. Like it feels like it's been forever for us, because like we've been there for years, and we've seen it go from people trying to write smart contracts on Bitcoin to Ethereum, and to now EOS and all the others. So there's been iteration. I don't think we're done yet. I think the protocol still has a lot of things to figure out internally. So my personal bet, I would like to see. Well, it's not a bet, but my best case scenario is see the protocol actually offer native solutions to those problems. I think definitely what's happening with Liquid apps, with like the IBC typically is something that's going to come hopefully with the protocol. The idea of having third-party RAM CPU, offering RAM CPU and connected to the chain, I think that's a great idea. Do that all good insight. I think at some point they have to get back into a protocol so everybody agrees that this is how it has to be made. And I've always been very I would say reluctant on adding too many layers right now, because that the ground is still very fresh. Like you have to, the paint is still wet. There's still a lot of work. I'm sure that the guys at Block One out there in Blacksburg are working on a ton of really, really good stuff on the protocol. I think it's just about giving them some space, showing them the problems, showing them ideas and prototyping ideas, and helping basically the community, the platform scale and go into the right direction. That's the way I like to see things.
Yeah, I mean it's cool to see the whole community move so fast, and like everyone's trying to build the scaling solutions as fast as possible, and they're adding layers. But yeah, I like that thought of the protocol layer being the real where we really need to continue just building a really solid foundation for scaling the future. I like that. I like that take.
And also, look, the protocol is open source, so I understand like everyone wants to invest time and get rewarded for it by selling some services or having some incentives or their coins. But at the end, like helping out and adding, like expanding the platform and the open source code is benefits the community as a whole and still gets you rewarded as a core contributor. So I think there's like maybe there's a little bit of incentive to be worked out on that area, and that may actually be open to our friends at NuGet. But I think that's kind of like what I would like to see happening a little bit more, like maybe more contribution to the core protocol than everybody just trying to build their own thing on the side. Although again, Liquid Apps, I think it's phenomenal what they built, the idea and the way they implemented it. It's great. But as an app developer, when you have to choose what are your dependencies, you have to actually carefully weigh every time you add a new SDK or a new third party to your ecosystem, what are the costs of mending another piece of code that may or may not have the same lifespan as the protocol itself. It's always kind of that discussion that you have, that decision you're making that you have to go through.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that, because you can implement one of these second layer solutions, and then down the road, a couple years down the road, maybe that's not being used before, and then you have to deal with that on your app end. So, okay. Interesting. That's why I do the podcast, man. I'd never think about the things like this. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And that's really that's actually a very good point. There are a ton of really good solution. Like EOS Canada, they released. I forgot the name of the tool. Do you remember that tool that does streamings of the blocks being generated and verifying when those blocks are actually verified? There are a ton of really amazing tools out there. That for us as a platform and an app developer, it's always the same question. If I'm going to have that as a dependency in my code, what does it cost me down the line? It's not just about the money, but it's what are the risks? If for some reason the platform fails, are my users impacted? It's all those questions that are really tough. So sometimes it's a good thing to limit the dependency, and definitely like in the game development world, in the game industry, you spend your time removing SDKs from the game as much as you can. Mm-hmm. Try to keep it lean, keep control of what's going on. That every evolution, especially like in the gaming industry, a game engine that evolves, a ton of the dependencies just end up breaking. So it's like it's like top of mind. Like dependency are a great opportunity, but also a great source of risk.
Okay, so you're trying to get as few SDKs, as few dependencies as possible into the game, because you're basically hedging your risk, or okay, interesting, very cool. So where are you guys at? Where are you guys at in Azarus? Why don't we talk about, since we're getting kind of nice segue into games?
You will always get segued into games with me.
I know. Yeah, that's me too. Even if it has nothing to do with gaming, I'm still going to segue into gaming at some point. So Azarus is a game challenge network that lets gamers and streamers engage. Right now it's using Twitch. And so why don't you give a kind of 30,000 foot overview of what Azarus is, and then we'll start kind of digging in.
Yeah, that's so at a very high level, it's very simple. We connect to games, so we have partnership with the game publishers. So we have the data from the game. We know what's happening. We know if you did manage to get that headshot done, win the match, lost the match. We know everything what's going on when you play the game. And we basically expose the data through oracles on contracts that will then process it and define whether they're relevant for a challenge that you are currently competing for, and if that gets you to win or lose it. It's super simple. So what we launched, really, the MVP that we launched last year with Ubisoft and Rainbow Six Siege, that's their top esports title, was super simple. It's a Twitch extension. It runs in front of the feed of streamers, and that allowed you to do basically two things that are pretty cool. One is, like, as a viewer, you could challenge a streamer on an objective. Like, let's say Next match, if you manage to do 2 penetration kills, I'm pledging you 1 token. And so that's really interesting, because then as a streamer, when you have an audience like 1,000 of people, like giving a distribution, so you have to do anything between 0 and 10 penetration keys, and with the distribution of the rewards, it really incentivizes you to change the way you play the game, because you actually try to get to penetration kills. So you are going to be maybe spending a little more, being a little more hectic, use a drone to plan out your entry in the map, and all those kind of things. So it's really changes totally the dynamic. So it really incentivizes the streamer. And on the other side, the publisher, so Ubisoft, were actually running challenges on those streams to challenge the viewers on paying super attention on nitty-gritty details. And so they were actually pretty savage on some of the questions. Some of the questions were like, how many rounds were fired during that game? You gotta count those rounds. Or what type of weapon managed to land that kill. So if you know your weapons, you know the game. If you pay super tight attention to the game, you can earn credits from that were sponsored by the publisher. So that's kind of the dynamic. And this gave us phenomenal results. I mean, like, people were spending twice the time on stream. People were grinding for hours to get those credits, and was super happy about it. The community really tightened. So we have a Discord server where the most hardcore players ended up joining. And you know, what was phenomenal is that everything is on the blockchain. They were using the blockchain. They had no idea, and yet they were reaping the benefit. They were actually checking the data, verifying why do you think that it was like 2 keys? I saw 3 keys. And checking the data, arguing. We had a long argument about what a headshot means.
Okay. It
was a very interesting trial. Like, people were actually watching the stream, taking screenshot on Twitch, like snapshots of the core video, checking the data and arguing for hours. And they ended up defining that it's actually a headshot is when you kill someone by only 1 bullet, never touching him before, only on the head, not the neck.
Okay.
So different bounding boxes. And you know, it's phenomenal. The community, like, give them tools, give them transparency, and they will nerd out and have a ton of fun, and we'll get to the bottom of anything. It's crazy.
That is crazy. That's so fun. I mean, it's actually unbelievable. The amount of in the engagement speaks to it. If you're doubling the engagement instantly, and you got Discord channels popping up and people talking about it, clearly they're liking it. So how do the incentives actually play out, or can you just type anything you want? Can you type in, like, I want a headshot, or they have like a list of maybe criteria that they choose from, like a drop-down list, or can they just make anything up?
So today we have a limited list just because it was an MVP, so we had to start somewhere. But we're working on a language that describes those changes, and that basically will allow down the line, in a couple of weeks, to have kind of a visual coding experience where you take basically the data from the game that we have, and you just combine everything the way you want. So you can build your own changes. You can use the one that have been already created from a list and see which one was fun to play, which was most popular. And there's also a whole element of like clearing out those new challenges, like are they legit, are they fair, are the rules making sense, and that's also a role to the community to chime in and promote what's fun and meaningful, as opposed to what would be like not really fun to play. You know, and what we're doing here is really scaling something that has been happening in the gaming industry forever. One of the very famous examples. So, do you play League of Legends? Do you know League of Legends?
I know League of Legends. Yes. Yeah.
So you know, it's a MOBA, basically 5 versus 5 players on each end of the screen. There are 3 lanes: north, south, and central lane. And the first one to destroy the nexus from the opponent team wins. It's a 50-minute game. It's a very long game. You have to have a lot of time. It's super competitive. It's fun to play. But people at some point say, hey, you know what? Let's make it shorter because like I don't have 50 minutes, but I could play a game. So they decided to play 3-on-3 on the middle lane.
Mm-hmm.
They just agreed verbally, let's not use the other lanes and let's only be 3-on-3. And that became so popular, it became a game mode. So the insight here is that, like, you know, those kinds of behaviors are happening. What we're doing here is that we're offering the tool to make it happen at scale in a verifiable and transparent way, so that there won't be a champion that would just go wander on the nose lane and tackle the nexus from the back without anyone noticing.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting concept, because you've got this something like Fortnite or Rainbow Six too. You've got these kind of big open worlds, and the incentive right now is just as many kills as possible is the main goal. But all of a sudden, you throw in 100 streamers that are watching, and all of them are kind of making their own bets or putting their own different incentives in. You could have 10 people, you could have people playing 10 different games all at once, but within the thing. And you may have a whole phenomenon develop where, like you're saying, there's this mass agreement that they're going to change the whole rules of the game, and the whole, they might make up all kinds of interesting games that are played within the Rainbow Six world or whatever worlds are happening. Who knows what the crowd comes up with.
It's just like a Minecraft, you give tools to the crowd, give them power to define the rules, the incentives, and how they want to play, and use a game that you already play as a construct, and just keep having more fun in different ways, in ways that even the publisher may not have even thought of, and he can just embrace whatever becomes successful. But that tons of examples in the gaming industry, and how people, when you give them tools, become crafty and just have a ton of fun. Minecraft's probably one of the biggest examples of people hacking a game and using it as a construct to do literally unbelievable thing. Just talk about that guy who created a whole computer, like generator CPU out of blocks that he scripted to make sure they're using them as transistor, and he built a CPU and a whole computer. It's like, it's amazing. Why not? It's definitely a ton of fun. Like, define how you want to play the games. The games are there, you know how to play them, you've invested time, and now we just like opening up more opportunities for you to have fun with your friends on it.
Yeah. So there's two ends of the equation here, kind of. There's the streamers who are watching, and they're asking things of the gamers. But then on the other end, the gamers are actually asking things of the streamers. Have you seen anything right now? So right now the gamers are asking like questions, like recap questions, like what gun did I get that headshot with? Have you seen any other interesting dynamics aside from questions pop up from the gamers yet? Or how do you see that evolving?
So the streamer for sure, he loves it because it changes, like it creates a reason to discuss with the crowd. As a streamer, you're basically putting on a show.
Mm-hmm.
So that show is only as interesting as the crowd, or it may be very interesting, but it's like it has value because there's a ton of people there listening, tuning in, and ideally engaging, asking questions, giving you hints, or like just interacting with you. So this is one of the things that the streamer really love, because it has allowed them to not only increase engagement, but it's actually directly money in the bank. People are paying through subscription, through following the streamer. They are increasing their network. They are making money on Twitch. One of the streamers that we had in the first test, so the first test were really 3 small streamers, was really low key test, 20 concurrent viewers on average. One of them is making partner. They all ended up with 1,000 concurrent viewers. They were the biggest stream on Twitch.
That's
it's just mind blowing. And one of the new things that we're going to be introducing in the next few weeks is really how those changes translated from the streams to the game. So that's going to be very interesting. How the publisher will be able to shortly to challenge the viewers to go and do in-game actions. Like you've been watching for an hour that Pro League stream. How about you go and play 3 rand games? So it's really tying those dots, and everything. What's great? Everything happens on the same platform. It's the same construct. It's the same challenge. It's the same base layer that we built on top of, and we just are able to connect all those dots, whether you're on Twitch or Mixer, because we don't have to be to take sides here, or playing Rainbow Six, or I don't know, Fortnite, League of Legends, PUBG. All those games are going to basically be exposed in the similar way, and you can define how you want to play it, or you can incentivize your players to play it in in a different way. And that's kind of a first. As a publisher, when you my co-founder Eric, he's a former EA guy. He launched the EA Sports brand, then he launched NBA 2K at Take-Two, and he was at Wargaming recently. He was saying, one of the really interesting things is like we have tools to do acquisition in a measurable way, but there's literally nothing when it comes to engaging and retaining players that you have already acquired. And when you have a game that's old, that's like 4 years old, 5 years old, like getting a new player trained to understand the game is really expensive. You're much better off finding a way to keep your players having fun and enjoying the game as it is, because that's going to be a better benefit for you. And like for instance, I tried. So I wasn't in the early days of League of Legends. So I tried playing the game recently because I need to learn a little bit more about it. That learning curve is steep. You hear like you can feel the 10 years of updates, new content, new champions. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is for sure. I mean, I remember especially with like the shooters and things like that. If you haven't been playing, let's say you haven't been playing Call of Duty through like 6 or 7 titles, like to come in and jump into a new one and try to, it's a little bit overwhelming. There's just, there's years of learning that's gone on already. So,
and your muscle memory may not be as accurate as it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely when I started playing Rainbow Six again, I was like, ooh, I used to play that game. We were in 2002 or 3. I feel I was better back in the days. I've been playing more strategy games than FPS. That game, though, got me back into FPS because like they call that a tactical FPS. So it's kind of fascinating. It's not just about the muscle memory, but it's also about strategizing as a team. How do you take on that hostage situation, that bomb situation? Like how do you plan your entry, your angles? So planning just has as much weight to the game as the muscle memory itself. So it's kind of like it's a very good deal for me because my muscle memory is not what it used to be.
You can lean on the tactical then. Yeah,
absolutely. That's what. If I managed to get those skills, because I was positioned right and I anticipated the situation properly. Otherwise, just get destroyed.
Yeah. So you were talking about the interface. It sounded like you were kind of talking about the interface being hidden, or it can just be used without some sort of extra layer. What's the UX look like for people who are using Azarus right now with Twitch? What do they have to do to make it happen?
It's extremely simple on streams that have the extension, and today the 2,500 streams have actually adopted the extension. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
We only had 8 streams that were actually sanctioned by Ubisoft and sponsored by Ubisoft, but 2,500 people installed the extension. We're like, wow, interesting. So the extension is really simple. It's like a little red dot, the Azarus logo on the stream right on top of the video. And the first time you see it, there's an authorize button. You click it, and boom, you're in. That's it.
That's it. Okay.
And it will unfold when there is an interaction that's expected from you, and you can click it whenever you want to see the past changes, your play history, and everything. But it's there, and we spend a ton of time making things that are extremely simple and that do not require a 12-4 seed phrase or a scatter on your desktop. We really abstracted everything for the end user just so we can scale and we don't have to educate him. Mm-hmm. I gave a conference last year at the Blockchain Game Summit. It was pretty funny. So my talk was just after the CryptoKitties guys, and their talk was all about how they're making those sliders really understandable so that people understand what the fees are for and how gas work and all those things. I was like, I'm not even going to get there. Like this, yeah. I have to talk about gas and explain that to a gamer that has no idea what blockchain is in the first place, aside that it's Bitcoin and you can buy it. And we used to be big, and now it's like the pretty little in the bear market. It's not happening. It's like if you want to scale, if you want hundreds of millions of players, and that's what we're looking at, you need to make things as simple and transparent for them.
Yeah, and make it just exactly. So how does you're using AZA credits, I guess you're calling them, as the coin? Okay. So the AZA credits, if they're not having to deal with those, what do you do? How are they held in the wallet, or how are the credits managed, and you're just kind of abstracting that onto the back end, or what's that look like?
So they actually perform like a regular credit on our chain. So we currently are on a side chain. So it's not on the mainnet, mostly for scale problems that we're anticipating. But we're looking at the option to move just the credits to the mainnet at some point once we have some IBC. So there are quite a few things we're looking at because we would like to have ideally everything on the mainnet. Right now, we feel like it's looking at the speed distribution is not obvious. So from an end user perspective, the credit is basically a virtual coin. It's just like in any game. So you can that Twitch extension is actually a wallet. When you sign in, we authenticate you. You generate a key on your wallet that we add to your account, and then you can just transact directly from that wallet. So it's extremely transparent and simple. The credits, they live on a contract, a token contract. That's super standard. We have added a ton of limitations though, because we wanted to make sure that whatever you do when you stake credits and when you earn them, we didn't want anything to have to fall into the betting and gambling area. So we were extremely careful to make sure that you cannot, basically the credits, you can only earn them, stake them, and redeem them. So that limits a little bit the scope of what we allow you to do with them. But that's really to make sure that everybody can play the game and that we're not limited to 21 plus in some of the states or some of the country and have to do heavy KYC. That way, it's really more of a Dave and Buster's model, where you have a hard currency that lets you play the game or sponsor a channel, generate a channel or something. But at the end, what you earn is tickets, like the Dave and Buster tickets that you can just go to the store and redeem for cool content or cool in-game items.
Cool. So that's basically the use is for them to change in for digital items, I'm guessing. And have you started to build out like a digital item marketplace, or what do you envision that being?
Yeah, no, we have that. So on the first test, we had Rainbow Six credits, which is the hard currency inside the game. After that test, we realized that maybe using the hard currency wasn't the smarter thing. So we went to a more diverse set with boosters and renown. Booster packs can let you level up faster in the game. Renown can be exchanged for skins and stuff like cosmetics in the game. That went on super well, and we also were talking with quite a few people like from the industry. And so yes, we have the marketplace. It's already there. People are redeeming like crazy. So it's really interesting to see that. Yeah, since the only thing you can do is like earn, stake, and redeem, so you definitely have like 20% of the people who are restaking the tokens, changing the streamers and so on. And a lot of the players really want to digitalize them, and they have to work for it. Like I said, 30 hours to get that Rainbow Six credit was pretty steep, but people were massively getting there.
Wow. So 30 hours of gameplay, and then you get a Rainbow Six credit of Azarus tokens. You get an airdrop or something.
30 hours of spending attention on stream with the Azarus extension enabled, answering right, and grinding those credits.
Wow.
And then you just go to Azarus.io and sign in with your Twitch account, so we recognize you and another limited wallet, and you can just exchange, do those credits, pay with those credits basically for those items.
How many people did that? How many, what was your count on people who actually did that 30 hours and went for that?
20K.
No way.
Yeah, no, that's
amazing.
Crazy. And and so the tests were really two short-lived tests, about 10 days each. So it was really about making sure the mechanics work, getting insight, and so on and so forth. So we're looking at expanding it now. But in those two tests, we acquired I remember the first hour, the first test we got 1,000 players through the door. The second test, the first hour, we got 10,000 players through the door. It's
wow.
It's scaling. It's going really fast. That's it's like I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. This is the first time when you launch and you just put it out there, it actually blows up immediately. It's like instant product market fit. But it happened a few times over and over again. So I guess people just love it. People love it. Streamers love it because it makes more engagement on their stream. Publishers love it because for the first time they're able to impact and interact with their actual current players and help change their behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the publishers is that third part where they can jump in and provide incentives through the token as well, huh? Okay.
Basically, they sponsor challenges. So it's just as simple. They define how they define challenges that they feel are meaningful to them and to their community, and sponsor them by assigning tokens and basically by staking tokens on top of them.
What's it look like on either the publisher's end if they're sponsoring, or the viewers end if they're watching and they want to get some Azarus token or some AZA credits? Do they purchase those? Is there like an on-ramp for them to purchase those with cash, or they purchase them with?
That would be the idea. That down the line, that's what's going to happen. Right now, we're doing it for free, so it's more like if they provide digital items for the redemption, we generate the amount of liquidity that matches the items, so we keep the economy stable, and we allow them to stake them on the type of change that they want to, okay, and on the people they want to. So that's so right now it's free for this first test, and hopefully we're able to charge them down the line.
Yeah, so you see an on-ramp fiat in the future. And then if there's IBC, does that change? And then they go onto the mainnet. Does that change the does that change a little bit? I mean, then all of a sudden people can sell them or trade them for EOS or something like that, right?
So not the other credit. The other credit we will never be able to trade. It's really like the something that you can only earn, stake and redeem. That's the only thing. That said, we would probably have another harder currency that we'll be using to basically for publishers to buy, or for advertisers to buy, and to sponsor challenges. But that you can never earn that one. So it's only a means of paying and generating. So it's, again, all this construct is really made so that we never end up doing gambling and betting. Mm-hmm. We need to separate the earnings, make sure that we are, if you are going to be playing and staking that credit, that's not something that has a value that you could just extract immediately in cash, because that would just put us in a position where that becomes a giant casino, and we don't want that. The publishers don't want that. That said, what we want is allow people to have fun and to have a more intense gameplay, and to have to dopamine spikes and have more fun in games they already played. But we don't want them to veer into that dark area, dark zone. So it's really about making those choices and constructing the project so that we are in a place where we feel safe about getting basically anyone on the platform.
Yeah, and actually it probably makes the game more fun. It keeps it's already clearly very sticky and fun, and has changed the incentives, and people are able to buy skins within the games by earning these tokens. But if it was something where you could trade it straight out for cash, all of a sudden the incentives get very perverse really quickly, and it could make it not fun too, it could kind of ruin the dynamic that's going on there even. So just on the gameplay level, it probably makes sense to have it that way too. But on the legal level, for sure. So, yeah. Rainbow Six is one of the top esports games, right?
That's right. No, it's crazy. I've been to I went in the invitation in Paris last year. I was blown away by the crowd, people cheering the team. So I knew about the game, but I hadn't played it before. I'm 100% hooked. I love that game. It's probably my main game right now. But it's crazy when you realize how much Twitch and esports that those things were barely existing 10 years ago, and now it's you have tens of thousands of people. They filled up a stadium in Rio for last year for the finale, and people know the game, they understand the game, they know the teams, they know it's just like a regular sports. They understand, millennials and the younger generation. There's no difference in watching a basketball game, and watching a Rainbow Six game. It's exactly the same thing for them. It's crazy, and it's billions of people, 2 billion of players. It's massive. It's sometimes really hard to realize, but I really had that epiphany when I was at the finale and looked around me, and that crowd was so intense. Just the same experience as being on an NBA game, and the ESL and those companies are getting really good at really putting on a show around the game, which is like when you go to sports, it's about the game, it's also about what's going on around the game, in between the timeouts and those kind of things. And this is so, like, the spectacle was amazing.
Yeah, they're either like shooting off fireworks, have like light shows going, people like music playing, all kinds of, and they got announcers. I mean, they go for it. And I read, I think in 2016, so it's a little bit old, but the World Championships of Gaming had the same, or maybe a little bit higher viewership than the Super Bowl, which is a giant sporting event. So that gives people an idea of how big it's getting, and that's kind of a one-way street too, because gaming's only getting bigger and more popular, and it's crazy. Unless you've looked into it, you kind of wouldn't realize how big it is. But when you look into it, it's kind of mind-blowing. So
it's like in the Netflix a few months ago when there was that thing in the earning report where they're saying they're competing against Fortnite.
Oh wow.
So like they basically, you have watch time, you have like time in front of your screen, and you're going to watch a movie on Netflix, or you're going to play Fortnite, and other people are playing Fortnite those days. And what's crazy is that we're not even halfway through. We are basically right now, we're at the point where we have about the same amount of watchers that watch the game and that play it, and we are getting across the tipping point where we start soon having more people watching the game than people playing it. And that's a whole new dynamic, because of course, like in regular sports, that's what you have. You have more people playing, watching soccer or rugby than people actually playing it, going in the field and getting dirty. So that's a great thing in regular sports, but this is coming now also for esports. So it's really like changes again the dynamic, also all the money flows when you look at those broadcasting rights and everything that goes around the business of esports.
Yeah, that's actually a crazy phenomenon, because I'm thinking about for myself, like I'm really interested in Rainbow Six, and I love the thought of the dynamic, but the thought of putting in the time of actually learning how to play it, to enjoy it, is just kind of overwhelming. It's a little bit much. The barrier to entry to actually get involved with it's too high, but I would definitely now go and watch it, and watch someone who's really good at it and put in their 10,000 hours. So I could see myself definitely being a user, but not actually getting dirty and playing it. I never related that to real sports though. That's definitely the case. People love to see it. They don't want to put in the time to do it necessarily, but they love to see people who are good at it. Wow. Yeah, it's changing. That's cool. So did you pick Rainbow Six? I mean, did you guys select the one game that you were going to go for, or did you need to make an agreement with, was it Ubisoft?
Yeah, so it was a discussion with Ubi, and we felt that this game had was the most interesting to try out the dynamic. Lots of good streams, it's pretty popular on Twitch. And the data we were having from the game was really interesting too. So I think it was like, from a test perspective, it was a really, really good choice. And we got lucky. Again, it's like one of the biggest titles. It's one of the biggest esports titles. It was really organic, and the team at Ubisoft has been super supportive, and is still being super supportive on the next phases of what we're building. So it's been a great relationship. And again, we've been with the starter program since March last year. The first season was really about putting together the first test that we launched in September. The next season right now is really about expanding it and proving more of it. So I can't disclose too much, obviously, but there are a few really cool stuff that we are planning on that test, on that season. And so this is exciting. And one of our goals also as a company is to add more games. So that's going to happen in the next couple of months, expand the platform. And we have plans also for more ways to interact with those challenges. So quite a few teasers out there. I can't tell too much about it, but there's definitely a lot coming on in the next few months that get me super excited.
That's great. I love the stealth. There's some stealth announcements coming in the future, and so when that starts happening, come back on the EOS podcast. We'll chat about it, because that starts to get exciting. What do you you did mention that you might be expanding into other platforms or into other games, excuse me. If you expand into other games, you get to keep the kind of the logic for headshots or the incentives, or do you have to kind of recreate that specifically for each game?
So so you have to recreate the challenges, obviously, but we have abstracted a lot of the way we interact with games. So it's very easy for us to add more games and more platforms to the ecosystem. But yes, indeed, the question or the objectives of making more penetration kit doesn't really translate well in League of Legends. Was no such thing. So you have to be you have to adapt, but that's one of the things that the community really is going to be helpful for, is building those challenges and basically inventing new ways to play the game and new things to pay attention for. It's really like the players, they know their games, they are passionate about their games. Give them tools, they will create crazy things. That's what happened already with Rainbow Six. It's really the community came together. So we did the first question read for the Bootstrap, but basically it's our community on Discord that changed the questions, that added more questions, that created first challenges to the streamers. Everything was really organically created by the community. So now we are really creating the tools to scale it.
What does it, if say I was watching and I wanted to add my own question or add my own incentive, what's that process look like as far as getting something that would be really interesting added to the?
So in a couple of days, it will be as simple as uploading a small JSON file on the Azarus.io. So it's and we're making it easier and easier. So it's like, again, it's still a little bit technical right now, because obviously we're 9 months in, so it's still a little rough around the edges. Like I'm saying, in a few months, it's going to be super visual, like visual coding, Scratch style, where you just drag and drop things, and you can test and see what happens based on real data that you have already generated, and package and share, and that's it. You have a challenge out there.
That's great. What do you think is, so you're talking about possibly expanding onto new gaming platforms. What do you see happening for something like just a live streamer, like something like the EOS Podcast? Let's say I was doing a live stream on Twitch of the EOS Podcast and I was interacting with people. How do you see that playing out someday?
That's a great one. I had the same question from a friend of mine who's a professor of economics. He was like, I'm doing this lecture. How can I make them interactive? I could make challenges on top of that. Those are great use cases. Right now, we really focus on the gaming because that's where we come from. It's really the data from the game is amazing. And what's great about game data is that it's structured. You can use it. It's there. In the case of the podcast, if you had if you were doing a live one on Twitch and you had maybe a moderator, you could pre-fire questions or incentives. That's definitely you could fire a question about some things that you did. What's who provides which company provides a vCPU? Is it a Liquid Apps, Scatter? I don't know. This kind of Q&A. And you could even have that sponsored by some of your sponsors. That would be very manual though, because the data obviously is something that just that's not restructured, it's not out there, exposing an API and that you can oracleize. But you could, so in your case, it's pretty closer to an Augur type of approach, where you have basically the crowd agreeing that this is the right answer to the question you ask, given the amount of choices. But that's a great. I mean, definitely a few people have been asking it. Right now, it's not a focus, so it's like, this is great. We'll put a pin on it, and we'll keep our focus on the gaming industry, because we still have a ton of things to do right now.
Yeah, you got about a billion more users to onboard in gaming before you have to start worrying about that, huh?
2 billion.
Yeah. That's awesome. So we've covered a lot of where you're at right now and kind of the near future. What do you think, further down the road, let's say 2 years down the road, where would you like to see Azarus, or what could the possibilities look like if this gets fully developed?
We see challenges as a language of the gamers. So, you're chatting is basically Discord, you're streaming and sharing your gameplay, that's Twitch. We believe that challenges has just the same power to bring together the community of players and being able to see what your friends are up to, are they winning, are they losing, challenging them back. That level of interaction just has the same potential in the gaming industry that Discord and Twitch have shown for their own mediums. So I think that's kind of like what I'm looking at, like having a platform where you have like those 200, 300 million players, basically having higher stakes, higher fun, higher engagement, higher excitement, because playing the games they already love, but in a different way and more engaged and intense way. That's kind of like we're looking at.
Yeah. What's going to happen is so it's unpredictable, because you get 100 million people all with interesting ideas, and they start kind of inputting, like the wisdom of the crowd or just the creativity of the crowd is going to be completely change the landscape of how games are played. That's an exciting thought. Absolutely.
And you have some real question of governance. How do you define what challenges are fair versus the ones that are not? How do you keep everything even? There's a lot of really good questions that are going to be popping up over the next few months as we grow the platform. But that's really exciting. I think it's challenges have been around for a long time. I feel that they're an untapped potential right now, and I feel that we got a pretty interesting edge at cracking this one out.
Yeah, that's great. Is there anything that we kind of glossed over as far as Azarus goes that you'd like to go back and touch on a little bit more?
I think we've said a lot.
Yeah,
we've said a lot already. The one thing that I also would like to maybe to touch on is the extension. So that little test that we did, been pretty crazy. So extension is a really new thing on Twitch. It's basically you being able to run a little bit of HTML, CSS on top of streams, and basically putting it in front of the eyes of all the viewers. And so that new tech, that new thing has proven to be extremely efficient. So we've got extremely lucky. Our initial version of Azarus was not an extension, was using the chat on the side, and that was really sad. The UX was not there. So we decided to invest and try to figure this new thing out. Extremely good decision. So if anyone out there is looking at those dynamic between streamer and viewers, the extension is definitely one of the cool tech around that you should be looking at.
Okay. It's all about the extension, and people can get they just go to the marketplace and they can download your the Azarus Twitch extension.
That's right. As a streamer, yes. And you basically add it to your stream and choose it where you want it on your stream, like right side, left side, select the dot position, and that's it. It's extremely simple.
Wow. I'm sure that as people see the other streamers with the extension, they're going to be, everyone's just going to be clamoring for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what happened. We had 8 of them, and we're really using the extension because they were selected by Ubisoft, and now we have 2,500 streams with the extension installed.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's definitely beyond our expectations.
Yeah. Where's the best place for people to find you on the socials, and what's like where can they talk to the team or anything like that?
Super easy. Just go to Azarus.io. We're on Discord because we do games. So there is a link to the Discord channel right on the webpage. And yeah, the community is there. I'm there all the time. So it's everybody's welcome to come and discuss and join the fun.
Very cool. On my end, my EOS Podcast friends, this is not just a YouTube show, it's a podcast. That's why it's called the EOS Podcast. So if you're watching, you can also listen when you're driving to work, or maybe if you're at work, it's a good time to just listen and learn about EOS when you're supposed to be working. Who knows? Also, I've got the Mr. Happy Money Proxy. So if you're looking to vote, I think you're maybe my 70th show, Alex. I've not only do dApps apps, but I interview block producers and talk to them and get to know them. So I vote for block producers that are transparent, empowering the community, and building the EOS community together. So the Mr. Happy Money proxy, if you're looking for someone to vote for you, check that out. Those are my fantastic plugs. Alex, it was fantastic to have you on the show, man. Thank you for coming on. I want to catch up with you guys, and I'll be watching your project closely. We're both in San Francisco. We see each other at the EOS San Francisco meetup every once in a while, so that's cool to see you in person. So thanks for coming on the show, Alex. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Brendan.
All right, cheers.
Take care.
The money is not the prime asset in life. Time is, and your time is just